Imagine the moment you stop chasing, not because you've given up, but because you've realized something far greater, that what you are seeking is actually seeking you, that the very thing you once thought was beyond you has always been within you, quietly waiting for you to wake up and see yourself clearly. To act as if you are the prize is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is not pride. It is the awareness of your divine inheritance. It is not pretending. It is remembering. All of life moves in response to the image you hold of yourself. Not the mask you show the world, but the secret concept buried deep within. The self you entertain in the silence of your imagination. And so, when you act as if you are the prize, you do not act for the world. You act from the truth already planted in your spirit. You no longer wait for the world to confirm your value. You live from it. You express it. You breathe it. There is no need to beg for attention, approval, or love. That is not the behavior of one who knows their worth. The diamond does not shout to be noticed. It simply exists in its brilliance, and the world bends toward it. Likewise, when you walk in the awareness that you are the prize, the people, situations, and outcomes that match that self-image must come to you. This is not superstition. This is law. Because low life officially, many is guilt. The law of identity. The ambition of the individual is guilt. Law of interpreting it is good. It is bad. Dreadful. Ask yourself, what is the story you are telling about who you are? Because the story you live by is not just a reflection of your past, it is the prophecy of your future. If you see yourself as overlooked, you will be. If you feel unwanted, you will experience rejection. If you believe you are ordinary, life will treat you as such. But if you shift that in a story, if you act as one who is chosen, one who is magnetic, one who is sacred and valuable, then life, which is only ever a mirror, will reflect that back with unwavering precision. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to express it. There is a vast difference. The former exhausts you. The latter liberates you. When you no longer need to hustle for your worthiness, you free yourself to live authentically, to speak boldly, to move gracefully, and in that ease, in that quiet confidence, you become irresistible. Not because you try to be, but because authenticity cannot be ignored. It radiates. To act as if you are the prize is to become the embodiment of faith. Faith not in the world, not in others, but in the unseen truth of who you are, even when circumstances scream the opposite, even when the outer world does not reflect your inner vision. You persist in the assumption of your value, not stubbornly, but serenely, not fearfully, but faithfully. That is the secret, that is the power. And you must hold this vision with love, not with tension, not with desperation, but with love, because love is the energy that attracts. Love is the frequency of the prize. You do not clutch tightly what you believe belongs to you. You welcome it with open hands. You trust that your energy is enough. You trust that your essence is the magnet. You trust that the life you desire is already flowing toward you because it is responding to the version of you that you have dared to become. So carry yourself accordingly. Speak as one who knows. Walk as one who belongs. Show up as one who has nothing to prove and everything to offer. The world does not shape your self-concept. Your self-concept shapes the world. This is your power. This is your invitation. The moment you believe it, the moment you live it, you will begin to see the evidence gather around you like stars to the night sky, not because you forced it, but because you finally remembered that you were always the prize. Close your eyes and understand this. Nothing in your world is separate from you. The conditions you see, the people you encounter, the treatment you receive, they are not random, nor are they purely the result of actions. They are the echoes of your self-concept. The truth you believe about yourself, whether consciously or subconsciously, determines the stage upon which your life plays out. If you hold within your mind an image of being second best, being unwanted, being overlooked, then life has no choice but to reflect that idea back to you with absolute precision, not because life is cruel, but because it is obedient. It does not judge your assumptions, it fulfills them. You are not reacting to the world, you are witnessing the outpicturing of your own inner beliefs. This understanding is not a theory, it is the operating law of your experience. Your concept of self is the projector. The people around you, the opportunities you encounter, the events you experience are all playing on the screen of life, based on the reel you have chosen to play in the silence of your thoughts. You may think the world is unfair, or that people treat you wrongly. But pause and consider, what are you silently affirming about yourself? Every emotion, every thought, every assumption about who you are sends a signal into the invisible field of creation. That field does not discriminate, it reflects. If you see yourself as insignificant, you will attract circumstances to match that frequency. If you see yourself as worthy, valuable, radiant, then even if the external seems unchanged for a moment, it must bend to accommodate your new self-image. You are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of fate. You are the author, the director, and the actor in your reality. And what is so striking, so beautifully simple, yet often misunderstood, is that you do not have to force the external world to change, you only have to change the internal story. The world responds, it doesn't initiate. That's the illusion so many fall into, thinking that outer shifts will heal the inner void. But it is never that way, it never has been. Until you see yourself as the prize, the world cannot treat you as one. Until you embody the frequency of being, chosen, adored, respected, nothing on the outside can fill that space. So you must ask yourself with complete honesty, who do I believe I am? Not in words, but in vibration. When I walk into a room, do I feel like I belong? When someone compliments me, do I feel it's true or do I doubt it? When opportunities appear, do I embrace them as deserved or shrink back because I still think I am not enough? These small, silent beliefs shape the totality of your life. Your reality cannot outgrow your concept of self. This is why pretending never works. You cannot simply speak affirmations while holding a contradictory image in your imagination. You must feel the truth of them. You must live from the assumption. The feeling of being the prize must saturate your inner world so deeply that it becomes more real to you than your current surroundings. The world around you may still echo an old concept, but you do not waver. You persist in the new idea. You hold it like a sacred treasure in your heart, because that is what it is. And what happens when you do this? When you truly revise the image of yourself, is that the world begins to rearrange. People begin to notice you differently. Circumstances aligned, not by chance, but by law. The law of consciousness. You are not manipulating reality, you are awakening to the truth that your inner state creates it. There is no need for struggle, no need for desperate effort. There is only the steady, calm, unshakable assumption that you are already who you desire to be. It may begin subtly. A conversation shifts, an opportunity arises, a door opens, but it's all pointing to one truth. Your self-concept has changed. And so the world must follow. Not because you chased, not because you begged, but because you became. The becoming is the secret. When you become, everything that belongs to that state flows toward you effortlessly. So if you have been overlooked, if you have been disrespected, if you have felt invisible, it is not your fault, but it is your signal. It is life reflecting an inner belief that you are now free to change. You don't need anyone to approve of the new you. You don't need external validation to begin. All you need is the courage to choose a new identity, to wear it in your mind and heart, to see yourself differently, and to live from that place before the evidence appears. You will know it's working not by outer proof, but by inner peace. You will walk differently, not because the world changed, but because you changed first. And in that shift, the world has no choice. It is not personal, it is principle. The mirror only reflects, and your inner world, rich with self-love, self-respect, and self-worth, will start to shine through every experience. You are not here to earn your place. You are here to remember that you already had it. You always have. There comes a moment when the noise fades, when the striving, the chasing, the proving, it all becomes exhausting. And in that quiet fatigue, something begins to awaken, a knowing, a soft whisper within that says, what if I no longer chase? Not because you don't want something, but because you've discovered that chasing implies it's running away. That pursuing something relentlessly sends out a message that you are separate from it, unworthy of it, or lacking it. But what if none of that is true? What if the very act of pursuit is keeping your desires at a distance? There is a profound shift that occurs the moment you stop chasing and begin embodying. When you stop acting like someone who needs and start being someone who already has. This is the great paradox of spiritual manifestation. When you stop striving for something, you create the space for it to come. Why? Because you've dropped the energy of lack. Because you've stepped out of the posture of want and into the posture of possession. You are no longer a beggar at the door of life. You are the host, the source, the center of your own experience. And life begins to mirror that truth with surprising speed and grace. To embody something means to assume its feeling, its tone, its rhythm. You no longer think of love, success, abundance, or recognition as external objects. You let them flow from within. You become the vibration of your desire. You live as though the thing you long for has already happened. You walk with the posture of fulfillment. You speak with the confidence of completion. You move with the ease of someone who knows that life is unfolding for them, not against them. And this is not pretending, it is awakening. It is remembering the eternal truth that what you seek is already within you. But to do this requires courage, because the world will tempt you with appearances. It will show you temporary conditions that contradict the inner state you are cultivating. It will whisper, see, nothing has changed. And if you are not rooted in faith, you may fall back into the habit of chasing, of reacting, of trying to manipulate the outer world. But remember, the outer world is a shadow. It has no power of its own. It is the echo of your previous thoughts. To engage with it is to argue with the reflection. You don't change the mirror, you change the face that looks into it. When you begin to embody your worth, your value, your importance, you shift your entire frequency. You're no longer waiting for a person to validate you. You're no longer hoping for the right moment or the right opportunity. You are the moment. You are the energy that attracts. And the world responds, not out of pity, not out of force, but because it must. That's the law. The vibration you emit is the vibration you receive. So when you carry yourself as someone who is already loved, already chosen, already successful, life begins to reflect that back to you in ways that feel miraculous but are in fact mechanical. This shift is not one of arrogance. It's not about pretending to be above anyone. It's about returning to your natural state, the state of being aligned with your source. When you were a child, you didn't doubt your worth. You didn't wonder if you were lovable. You simply were. You expected good things. You lived in the present. You believed in magic. But somewhere along the way, the world taught you to chase. It taught you that you had to earn love, prove your value, or strive for approval. And in that learning, you forgot who you were. Embodying is unlearning that. It is choosing once again to live from the inside out, not the outside in. Imagine walking into a room and not needing anyone to notice you, because you've already noticed yourself. You've already affirmed your presence. You don't need to be the loudest voice because your energy speaks louder than words. You don't need to convince anyone of your value because your presence already radiates it. That is the power of embodiment. You become magnetic. You draw things in, not with effort, but with alignment. And when things begin to show up, you won't be surprised, because you already knew. You already lived in the feeling of it. The outer manifestation becomes a natural outpouring of the inner transformation. And when you see this happen once, it becomes easier to trust the process. You stop fearing delays. You stop measuring time. You stop looking over your shoulder. You become still, grounded, certain. You understand now that the price doesn't chase. The price rests in its value, and those who are meant to see it will. This is not about doing nothing. It's about doing everything from a different state of being, from wholeness, from sufficiency, from the awareness that you lack nothing. From this place, actions are not forced. They are inspired. They are not born from anxiety. They are born from clarity. You're no longer acting from fear that something might not happen. You're acting from the knowing that it already has. And this knowing, this deep, sacred embodiment, transforms your energy in a way that words cannot fully describe. People will feel it. Situations will respond to it. Doors will open that logic cannot explain. So when the temptation comes to chase, to prove, to strive, to reach out in desperation, pause, return to your center. Remind yourself that what you seek is not out there, it's already inside you, waiting to be expressed. You don't need to earn your place, you are the place. The moment you rest in that truth, life moves differently. Not because it has changed, but because you have. And once you've tasted the peace of embodiment, you will never again settle for the chaos of chasing. Faith is often misunderstood. Many think it is simply hoping that something will happen or wishing for something to arrive. But real faith, true creative faith, is not about waiting. It is about assuming. It is the silent, invisible conviction that something is already yours, even when the world gives you no evidence of it. Especially when the world gives you no evidence of it. That is where the power lies. Not in believing because you see, but in believing until you see. Because the moment you base your inner state on circumstances, you surrender your authority. But when you base it on your identity, when you believe in who you are, not in what is happening, then you are operating from the source of all transformation. You must understand that the world is not the cause of your feelings. It is the effect of your consciousness. If you allow your state of being to be dictated by what your senses report, you are enslaved to an ever-changing world of appearances. One day it favors you, the next day it does not. One moment you feel hope, the next you spiral into doubt. But when you base your state on a deeper truth, a truth that says you are already the person you desire to be, then your peace becomes untouchable. Your confidence becomes unshakable. You are no longer moved by shadows because you've anchored yourself in the light. Faith in identity means you wake up each day not asking, will it happen for me, but declaring it has already happened within me. The outside world may still look unchanged. People may still treat you the same. Your bank account may not yet reflect the abundance you feel. But none of that matters. You are not moved by the delay because you understand that the delay is only in appearance. Reality is spiritual. Reality begins in consciousness. The rest is simply time catching up with truth. This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual law. What you assume as true within must be expressed without. That is the order. There is a sacred boldness required here, the boldness to stand tall in a desert and declare yourself soaked in rain. The boldness to feel rich while your wallet is empty. The boldness to walk with love in your heart while betrayal still echoes through your memories. That kind of faith can only come from one place, from identity, from knowing that you are not the victim of the world, but the creator of your experience. You are not subject to the opinions of others, nor to the results of the past. You are subject only to your own assumptions, to the image you hold of yourself in the secret chamber of your imagination. And this is where many falter. They look outside for signs. They seek validation, reassurance, permission. They say, I'll believe it when I see it. But that is not faith. That is delay. That is postponing your power. Real power is when you say, I will feel it now, and the world will have no choice but to respond. Because it must, because that is how reality works. You do not get what you want, you get who you are. Not who you pretend to be, not who you hope to be, but who you are being. Moment by moment, in thought and in feeling. When you begin to live from identity, everything changes. You no longer wait for love, you express love. You no longer seek success, you carry the atmosphere of success. You don't chase respect, you embody dignity. And when you live like this, the world cannot ignore you. Because you're not seeking confirmation, you are confirmation. The way you walk, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, all of it becomes an outflow of the truth you've claimed within. And people, situations, and circumstances begin to rearrange. Not because you forced them, but because your energy instructed them. Think of it like a magnet. The magnet doesn't run around trying to pull things in. It simply holds its frequency. It remains in its state, and by the law of its being, it attracts. You are the same. When you hold the state of your desired identity, life bends toward you. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to beg. Your assumption does the work. Your conviction becomes the cause. Your inner world becomes the mold into which the outer world must be poured. It is not your job to figure out the how. That is the domain of the unseen. Your job is to remain faithful to the state, to walk in it, feel from it, speak from it, and rest in it. When doubt whispers, you return to the feeling. When fear arises, you choose again. You choose to identify with the version of you that has already arrived, because if you stay there, if you refuse to abandon that identity, the world must come into agreement with you. It has no other option. What is held persistently in consciousness must become fact. That is the eternal promise. And when you live like this, you will start to notice miracles, not because they are miracles, but because you've spent so long living by facts that you've forgotten your power. Faith in identity awakens you. It brings you back to the truth. You were never meant to be shaped by conditions. You were meant to shape them. You were never meant to shrink yourself to fit the world. You were meant to expand so boldly that the world had no choice but to make space for you. When you live from that place, you become a living prayer, not one who pleads, but one who proclaims, not one who waits, but one who is. You become the vessel through which heaven expresses itself, not because of effort, but because of alignment, not through striving, but through being. Faith in your identity is the door. Step through it, and the world will follow. Love is the energy that changes everything. Not romantic love, not attachment or longing, but the deeper love. The love that you become when you stop resisting your own worth. When you stop measuring yourself by broken standards or seeking approval from others who cannot see clearly. This kind of love does not chase, it does not beg, and it does not fear. It simply radiates. And in that radiation, it attracts. It draws to itself all that matches its frequency. Because love is magnetic. Love is the highest state of alignment. And alignment is what brings your desires into form. When you begin to see yourself through the eyes of love, something profound happens. You stop needing the world to affirm you. You stop depending on circumstances to validate you. You begin to generate your own sense of wholeness, and that wholeness speaks louder than anything you could ever say. You no longer move from lack, you move from fullness. You are not trying to fill a hole, you are overflowing from a well that cannot run dry. And in this state, manifestation becomes effortless. You don't force, you allow. You don't strive, you receive. Magnetism is not something you switch on and off. It's not a performance. It is the natural byproduct of someone who is deeply at peace with themselves, who understands their value without needing to compare, who moves through life with quiet certainty, not because they have all the answers, but because they have stopped questioning their own right to exist fully. That kind of person lights up a room without trying. That kind of presence turns heads, opens doors, creates opportunities, not by demand, but by being. You see, when you act from love, you're not trying to get something, you're expressing something. You're not using love as a tool to manipulate results. You are using love as the lens through which you view yourself and the world. You stop seeing others as gatekeepers. You stop seeing life as a competition. You begin to move with grace because you trust the flow of who you are. That's what magnetism is. It's not loud. It's not forceful. It's subtle, but undeniable. And people feel it, even if they don't know how to name it. It's easy to misunderstand this and think that you must act confident or fake it till you make it. But love does not pretend. Love doesn't perform. Love remembers. It remembers your essence before the world told you to doubt yourself. It remembers the truth before the pain, before the rejection, before the comparison. That is why love heals, because it brings you back to yourself. Not the self you've adapted to survive, but the self you were created to be. And when you live from that self, you radiate a presence that no one can deny. So often, we seek magnetism by changing our appearance, our words, our tone. But true attraction comes from the invisible field you carry around you, from the energy you emit when no one is looking, from the tone of your inner dialogue, from the way you speak to yourself when you fail. That's where love begins. That's where magnetism is born. Not in the show, but in the sanctuary of your own being. When your inner voice becomes kind, supportive, and powerful, the world reflects that kindness, that support, and that power back to you. Many people operate from lack because they've been conditioned to believe they are not enough. They think, if I can just get that job, that person, that recognition, then I'll feel worthy. But they have it backwards. Worthiness is not the result, it's the cause. When you feel worthy first, the world aligns with that frequency. And love is what gives you that sense of worth, not conditional love, not approval from others, but the radical love you give to yourself when you choose to no longer abandon your own heart. And the more you love yourself, the less you need to chase, the less you need to prove, the less you need to control. Because love is trust. It's trusting that you are enough. It's trusting that what's meant for you cannot miss you. It's trusting that your presence is enough to shift rooms, to attract opportunities, to magnetize miracles. And that trust becomes your posture. You walk differently, you speak differently, you listen differently. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you're no longer suppressing the truth of who you are. This doesn't mean you don't take action. It means your action is infused with purpose and peace. You're not scrambling. You're moving with intention. You're not reacting. You're responding from a place of grounded knowing. And that energy is powerful. It draws people in. Not because you need them, but because you've already accepted yourself. The world responds to the way you treat yourself. If you honor yourself, the world will mirror that honor. If you cherish yourself, the world will reflect that value. If you love yourself deeply and unapologetically, you become a living magnet for everything aligned with that love. People often think love is soft, but there is nothing stronger than someone who is rooted in love. Love is fierce. Love sets boundaries. Love doesn't settle. Love knows its worth and does not negotiate with anything that tries to diminish it. So when you move from love, you are not weak. You are unshakable because you are no longer at the mercy of fleeting opinions. You are anchored in something eternal. The anchor gives you presence, it gives you gravity, it gives you magnetism. Everything you want is already seeking you, but it can only find you when you become the version of yourself that matches it. That version is already within you. It's the version that loves freely, trusts deeply, and walks boldly. That version does not chase, it attracts. It does not beg, it believes. It does not rush. It rests in the knowing that love is the key and you are the door through which love flows into the world. When you live from that space, you don't just attract things, you attract the right things. Not out of desperation, but out of alignment. Not out of lack, but out of love. There is a powerful shift that takes place when you stop trying to prove your worth and instead begin to express it. Proving implies that you are not yet enough, that something outside of you must be convinced of your value, that your existence requires justification. And so you perform, you overextend, you strive, not from fullness but from fear. The fear of not being accepted, not being chosen, not being loved. But the moment you drop the need to be validated, the moment you release the burden of performance, a new reality begins to unfold. One where your very being becomes enough, where your essence is the message and your presence is the proof. You were never created to live in pursuit of worth. You were designed to radiate it. And yet the world taught you otherwise. From a young age, perhaps you were told that achievement equals acceptance, that love must be earned, that beauty must be performed, that success must be demonstrated endlessly to avoid being forgotten. And so you began to construct a version of yourself tailored to approval, sculpted for recognition. But deep down, beneath the layers of adaptation and survival, there is a self that is untouched, unbroken, and already worthy. A self that does not beg to be seen, it simply shines. When you act from the place of trying to prove something, your energy is fractured. You are constantly scanning, analyzing, performing. You are hyper-aware of how others perceive you. You bend, you shrink, you stretch, all in the name of acceptance. And even when it comes, it feels empty, because it wasn't really for you. It was for the version of you you thought they wanted. But when you stop proving and start expressing, you begin to return home to yourself. You begin to breathe. You begin to soften. You begin to live. Expression is not performance. Expression is truth. It is the outpouring of the self that already knows it is enough. It is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is not seeking applause. It is simply being. And in that being there is beauty. There is magnetism. There is presence. People feel it when you are grounded in yourself. They are drawn to it, not because you are trying to pull them in, but because you are offering something real. In a world obsessed with image, authenticity becomes magnetic. And that authenticity flows naturally when you no longer feel the need to convince anyone of your worth. You become free to be consistent. You no longer say yes when you mean no. You no longer tolerate what disrespects your spirit. You no longer trade your peace for approval. Instead, you walk in alignment with your inner truth. You speak with clarity. You live with integrity. And the people, opportunities, and blessings that match that frequency begin to flow toward you. Not by force, but by resonance. Your job is not to chase what you deserve. Your job is to embody it. And embodiment is not about having, it is about being. When you are being your worth, you stop seeking it in others. When you are being love, you stop needing it to be given to you. When you are being abundance, you stop fearing lack. Your state of being is the magnet. The world is simply a mirror. It cannot give you what you are unwilling to first give to yourself. And this is the paradox. When you stop needing the world to see you, the world suddenly does. When you stop trying to be chosen, you are. When you stop proving you are enough, life begins to reflect that truth in unmistakable ways. Because your energy shifts from tension to trust, from desperation to dignity, from performance to peace. You become a channel, not a competitor, a light, not a billboard, a presence, not a plea. So let go of the need to prove. Let go of the urge to convince. Let go of the performance mask. You are not an audition. You are the role. You are not waiting for permission. You are the permission. You are not seeking entry. You are the invitation. And everything that belongs to the version of you that lives in this truth begins to find its way to you. Because you are finally congruent, your inner world and outer actions are in harmony. Your words, your choices, your posture, they all align with the quiet, unshakable knowing that you are already valuable. There is a softness in that knowing, a grace, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout to be heard, that doesn't need to rush to be first, that doesn't need to compete to matter. When you live from this place, you allow yourself to rest, to trust, to receive. You stop fighting battles that don't belong to you. You stop entering rooms where you have to earn your seat. You stop holding on to people who require you to shrink because you've tasted the freedom of self-honoring. And once you taste it, nothing else will do. Expression is effortless when it flows from a place of truth. You do not have to think about how to act when you know who you are. You do not have to plan how to be seen when you are no longer hiding. You do not have to convince anyone of your light when you are no longer dimming it. You simply live. You show up. You give. You create. You speak. You serve. All from a place of fullness, not fear. All from a place of knowing. There is no power outside of you. No force greater, no being higher, no destiny written by another's hand. You are the creator, the operant power, the sole architect of your reality. Everything that you experience is a direct reflection of what you assume to be true. Assume you are the best, and the world must conform to that assumption. There is no competition, no rival, no obstacle. Only your belief shaping itself into form. You do not wait for the world to recognize your greatness. You do not seek validation. You do not hesitate, wondering if you are worthy. You assume it, embody it, and walk as though it were already established. If you believe yourself to be the best, then by divine law the world arranges itself to confirm that belief. Others may try to measure you by their own limitations, but their opinions have no power unless you grant them authority. The secret is not in effort but in knowing. It is not in struggle, but in the certainty that you already are. You are not striving to become, you are revealing what has always been. The moment you assume yourself to be the best, the unseen forces move, shifting, aligning, making way for the fulfillment of that state. It is not arrogance, for arrogance seeks proof. It is not pride, for pride demands. It is quiet certainty, the unwavering inner knowing that you are unmatched, unrivaled, supreme in your domain. There is no need to question how it will come to pass. You do not concern yourself with the mechanism. You do not ask whether the world will recognize it. The world has no choice but to reflect back the image you hold within. If you walk as the greatest, if you think, feel, and embody that state, then all things must bend to that assumption. Doubt is the only enemy, hesitation is the only delay. If you waver, the world will show you uncertainty. If you question, the mirror of life will reflect hesitation. But if you assume fully and completely, without a shred of disbelief, then nothing and no one can stand before you. All will bow, not because they must, but because they have no other choice. This is the law. This is the way. The world is but a shadow, and you are the light that casts it. There is no force outside of you shaping your destiny, no external power, no predetermined fate, no unseen hand scripting the course of your life. Everything you experience, every opportunity that comes your way, every challenge that arises, is a direct manifestation of the assumptions you hold within. You are the operant power, the sole authority over your reality. The world does not move of its own accord. It moves in response to the consciousness that governs it. You are not at the mercy of circumstances, nor are you bound by limitations imposed by others. The moment you accept this truth, you free yourself from the illusion of struggle and competition. Nothing happens to you, everything happens through you. The people you meet, the situations you encounter, the successes and failures that unfold, these are all reflections of the assumptions you have accepted as true. If you believe yourself to be lacking, the world will mirror lack. If you believe yourself to be powerless, the world will present obstacles that confirm that belief. But if you assume your place as the master of your fate, as the creator of all that you experience, then nothing and no one can diminish your power. You do not need permission to rise, nor do you need approval to succeed. The moment you claim your power, the world shifts to reflect that claim. This truth is not something you need to seek, it is something you must awaken to. From the moment you were born, you were endowed with the ability to shape your reality through belief. Look around you, and you will see the evidence of your own assumptions. The people you attract into your life, the conditions that persist, the circumstances that repeat. These are all the echoes of the thoughts you have nurtured. There is no external cause, there is only consciousness projecting itself onto the screen of the world. When you understand this, you stop looking outside yourself for change. You realize that the only transformation that matters is the transformation that takes place within. There is no competition, no rival, no force greater than your own belief. Others may attempt to impose their ideas upon you, but they have no power unless you accept their assumptions as your own. If you believe yourself to be inferior, the world will affirm that belief. If you believe yourself to be the best, the world will bow to that assumption. It is not about arrogance, nor is it about force. It is about knowing that you are the source, knowing that your belief dictates what is possible. When you accept this, you stop seeking validation, you stop waiting for others to acknowledge your greatness. Instead, you step into it fully and completely, and the world cannot help but conform. You do not need to strive, struggle, or fight for recognition. You need only assume the state of being the best, and all things will adjust accordingly. You have seen this truth in action, even if you have not yet recognized it. Look at those who carry themselves with quiet confidence, those who move through the world as though success is their birthright. They do not question their worth, they do not wait for permission. They embody the belief that they are at the top, and so the world treats them accordingly. This is not luck, nor is it coincidence. It is the law at work, the law that states that what you believe to be true becomes your reality. If you wish to rise, you must first rise in consciousness. You must shed every doubt, every insecurity, every thought that suggests you are anything less than extraordinary. There is no room for hesitation in the mind of one who knows their own power. The moment you begin to waver, the moment you entertain the idea that you are not the best, you introduce resistance. The world responds to certainty, not to doubt. If you are unwavering in your assumption, the world has no choice but to align. The power you seek is already within you. It has always been there, waiting for you to claim it. No one else can give it to you, just as no one else can take it away. The only thing that stands between you and the reality you desire is your own willingness to believe. If you truly accept that you are the best, if you hold that assumption with absolute conviction, then the world must yield to that belief. Nothing and no one can stand in the way of an assumption that is fully realized. The question is not whether you are capable. The question is whether you will accept your own power. Many refuse to do so because they have been conditioned to believe in external forces, in limitations, in the idea that life happens to them rather than through them. But you are not bound by these illusions. You have the ability to step beyond them, to reclaim the authority that has always been yours. Everything you need is already within you. The confidence, the skill, the presence. It is all there waiting for you to assume it. Do not wait for the world to recognize you. Do not seek proof before you believe. Assume it now, in this very moment, and walk in that assumption as though it were already fact. The world is but a reflection of your inner state. Change the assumption and the reflection must change with it. Do not wait for permission to become what you desire to be. Do not look outside yourself for validation or proof. You must assume it, embody it, and walk in it as though it were already done. There is no separation between you and the version of yourself that is the best. The only thing that stands in the way is your belief in the gap. The moment you remove the idea that you must first accomplish something before you can claim it, you will step into it effortlessly. Everything begins within. The world does not dictate who you are. It only confirms what you have already accepted as true. If you assume yourself to be the best, the greatest in your field, the one who stands above all, then that assumption must be made manifest. This is not about arrogance, nor is it about proving yourself to others. It is about knowing that the power lies in your assumption, in the way you see yourself, in the way you move through the world. You do not become great by seeking recognition. You become great by recognizing yourself first. Walk as if it were already so. When you enter a room, do so with the confidence that you belong, that you are already at the top. Speak as though your words carry weight, not because you seek approval, but because you know that they do. Act as though your success is inevitable, because in truth, it is. The world must bend to your assumption, for it has no choice. If you act as though you are the best, without doubt or hesitation, the world will treat you accordingly. This is not about deception. You are not pretending to be something you are not. You are aligning yourself with what is already within you. The moment you fully accept the identity of being the best, you activate forces beyond your understanding. Opportunities arise where there were none. People begin to treat you differently. Circumstances shift to match your inner state. This is not coincidence. This is the law at work. The world is simply responding to your assumption. Many hesitate because they believe they must first achieve something before they can embody it. They wait for success before they act successful. They wait for validation before they feel worthy. But this is the great illusion that keeps people trapped in mediocrity. You do not wait for external confirmation. You assume it now in this very moment, and you move in that assumption as though it were already established. The world will follow. You have seen this principle in action before, even if you did not recognize it. Look at those who carry themselves with unshakable confidence. They are not waiting for the world to tell them who they are. They have already decided, and because they have decided, the world treats them accordingly. You may think that some people are naturally gifted, that they have something you do not, but in truth, the only difference between them and others is their assumption. They have assumed their greatness, and the world has no choice but to reflect it back to them. The way you think, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, these are all reflections of the assumptions you hold. If you assume yourself to be less than, the world will see you as such. If you assume yourself to be the best, the world will see you that way as well. It is not about effort. It is not about struggle. It is about alignment. The moment you align yourself with the belief that you are already at the top, everything else falls into place. Doubt is the only thing that can stand in your way. The moment you question whether you are truly the best, you introduce resistance. The world does not respond to uncertainty, it responds to conviction. If you waver, if you hesitate, if you entertain thoughts of inferiority, then the world will mirror that hesitation back to you. But if you stand firm, if you hold to your assumption with absolute certainty, then there is no force that can oppose you. It is not about seeking evidence before you believe. The evidence comes after the belief, not before. The moment you embody the assumption, the world begins to shift. You will notice changes in the way people interact with you. You will see doors open that once seemed closed. You will attract opportunities that align with your new state of being. But none of this happens until you make the decision to assume it first. You do not need permission. You do not need proof. You need only to decide. The world is waiting for your assumption. It is ready to mirror back whatever you accept as true. So assume it now. Embody it in every thought, every action, every movement. Walk in it as though it were already yours. And as surely as the sun rises, reality will conform. Your imagination is the only reality. The world you see, the circumstances you experience, and the people who enter your life are all projections of the assumptions you hold within. Nothing exists outside of consciousness. Everything you have ever achieved, every success or failure, every rise or fall, has been shaped first in the unseen world of your mind. You do not need to work harder or struggle more to become the best. You need only to assume that you already are. Assumption precedes reality. You are not waiting for greatness to find you. You are not hoping that someday, if you try hard enough, you will become the person you wish to be. You must assume that you already are. This is the foundation of creation, to imagine and persist in the assumption until it hardens into fact. You are not separate from the thing you desire. You are not an observer hoping to attain something distant. The best version of yourself already exists within you, waiting for you to claim it. Every moment you spend doubting, every second you spend questioning whether you are good enough, reinforces the illusion of separation. The world does not delay your success, only your mind does. The moment you accept that you are already the best, everything in your reality begins to shift. Opportunities arise. The right people come into your life. Circumstances rearrange themselves to match your inner state. The world is merely a mirror reflecting what you assume to be true. If you believe in your superiority, it will become an undeniable fact. Look at those who rise to the top. They do not wait for permission. They do not hesitate or second-guess their worth. They see themselves as the best before the world does, and because they assume this, the world is forced to acknowledge it. They move through life with certainty, not because they are inherently better than others, but because they have chosen to believe they are. Their imagination is saturated with the feeling of already being at the top, and the world complies. You do not need to struggle. You do not need to prove yourself. You need only to persist in the assumption that you are already the best. This is not about arrogance or trying to impress others. It is about conviction. It is about stepping into the identity of the one who has already achieved what they desire. The mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. If you consistently live in the feeling of already being the best, the outer world will conform. Your imagination is the bridge between where you are and where you wish to be. There is no other force guiding your destiny. What you consistently hold in your mind, you will experience in your world. If you imagine yourself struggling, you will struggle. If you imagine yourself as the best, you will find that life begins to arrange itself in a way that confirms your assumption. There is no randomness. There is only consciousness creating reality. You must live from the state of already having what you desire. This is not pretending. It is assuming the truth before it becomes visible. When you close your eyes and see yourself as the best, feel what it is like to walk in that confidence, to speak from that power, to move through life with the certainty of one who has already won. This is not a future event. It is happening now, in the unseen. And as you persist in that feeling, the world will reflect it back to you. Doubt is the only enemy. The moment you allow uncertainty to creep in, you create resistance. The world responds to certainty, not hesitation. When you assume that you are the best, you must hold that assumption unwaveringly. You do not check the outside world for proof. You do not question whether it is working. You persist until the world has no choice but to conform. Reality is shaped by your persistence, not by external circumstances. You have always had this power. You have used it every day, even without realizing it. Look at the patterns in your life. Everything you consistently imagined, whether good or bad, has come to pass. This is not chance. This is not luck. This is the law in action. Now, instead of allowing your imagination to drift into doubt and limitation, use it with purpose. Direct it toward the assumption that you are already the best. Saturate your mind with this belief until it becomes your natural state. The world will not give you what you want. It will give you what you assume to be true. If you assume greatness, if you persist in the feeling of already being at the top, the world will reorganize itself around that belief. There is no other way. The moment you fully accept that you are already the best, without needing any external confirmation, reality will shift to reflect that assumption. This is the only truth, and it has always been within you. You do not need the world to acknowledge your greatness before you claim it. You do not need applause, validation, or permission. The only thing required is that you fully accept in your own mind that you are already the best. The world is not creating your identity, you are. The world is only reflecting back to you what you assume to be true. When you decide with absolute conviction that you are superior, that no one surpasses you, the entire structure of your reality begins to shift. People respond differently. Opportunities appear. Success, which once seemed distant, moves toward you as if it were always meant to be. This is not by accident. It is the natural consequence of assuming a state and holding to it unwaveringly. Most people wait for the world to recognize them before they step into their power. They seek proof, signs, and confirmations. But by doing so, they give their power away. They place their destiny in the hands of external forces rather than in the one place where all reality is shaped, their imagination. You cannot wait for the world to recognize you as the best. You must recognize yourself first. The moment you accept this truth, the world has no choice but to mirror it back to you. Consider those who dominate their fields. They are not waiting for approval. They have already assumed their superiority. They have already decided that they are the best, and the world simply follows suit. There is no hesitation in their movement, no uncertainty in their words. They speak, act, and exist as though their greatness is an undeniable fact, because in their minds it is, and because they have assumed it, it becomes reality. The difference between those who rise to the top and those who remain unseen is not talent, luck, or effort. It is assumption. The person who assumes themselves to be the best will inevitably become so, while the person who waits for proof will always be one step behind. You must be the one to define your worth. If you do not, the world will do it for you, and it will do so based on the limitations you unconsciously accept. This is not about deception or arrogance. It is not about pretending to be something you are not. It is about recognizing that the only thing separating you from absolute greatness is your own belief. You are already capable. You are already worthy. The only question is whether you will accept this truth or continue to seek confirmation outside of yourself. Your imagination is the cause and the world is the effect. If you assume yourself to be at the top, the world will shape itself accordingly. If you assume yourself to be beneath others, the world will confirm that as well. There is no external force deciding your fate. There is only consciousness, and you are the one directing it. The moment you embody the state of being the best, everything shifts. You walk with a different energy. You speak with authority. You act with the confidence of someone who knows their place in the world. And because you have assumed it, people begin to respond differently. They sense something in you, something untangible yet undeniable. They do not know why, but they are drawn to you, they respect you, they acknowledge your presence. This is not because you have done anything externally. It is because you have shifted internally. Most people remain trapped in self-doubt, in fear, in hesitation. They believe that they must first prove themselves before they can step into greatness. But this is the great illusion. The proof comes after the assumption, not before. You do not wait to be recognized, you recognize yourself first. You do not wait for the world to tell you who you are, you decide. Reality is fluid. It bends and shapes itself according to the assumptions you hold. If you assume yourself to be the best, the greatest, the one above all, the world will confirm it. Not instantly, not always visibly at first, but inevitably. The moment you persist in a belief without doubting, without questioning, reality must conform. This is not about effort. It is not about struggling to prove yourself. It is about standing firm in the assumption, unwaveringly. It is about knowing that your assumption is the only thing that matters, that the world has no choice but to respond. If you move through life with the certainty that you are the best, the world will reflect that certainty back to you. Those who rise to greatness do not do so by accident. They do so because they have already decided within themselves that they belong there. They do not wait for permission. They do not seek validation. They claim their place, and the world simply adjusts to match their belief. You must do the same. Do not wait for proof. Do not hesitate. Decide right now that you are the best. Assume it so completely that there is no room for doubt. Move through life as though it were already true, and soon you will see that it is. The world will always mirror back to you what you assume to be real. The world does not shape you, you shape the world. You are not at the mercy of circumstances, luck, or the opinions of others. Everything you experience, every success and failure, every moment of recognition or obscurity is the direct result of what you have assumed to be true about yourself. You must not wait for external validation to confirm your greatness. You must assume it first. And the world will inevitably reflect that assumption. It is not the strongest or the most talented who rise to the top. It is those who believe they belong there. You do not need to prove yourself to anyone. You do not need to convince others that you are the best. You need only assume it within yourself. When you accept that no one is greater than you, that you are the highest authority over your own life, reality must conform. People will begin to see in you what you have already decided is true. Everything begins in the unseen world of imagination. The way you see yourself determines how others see you. If you walk into a room with the certainty that you are the most important person there, people will treat you accordingly. If you enter with hesitation, uncertainty, or the need for approval, the world will respond with indifference. It does not matter what your current circumstances look like. What matters is what you assume to be real. If you persist in the belief that you are the best, that no one surpasses you, life will mold itself around that conviction. Look at those who have reached the highest levels of success. They did not wait for someone to declare them great. They did not ask for permission. They decided. They assumed their greatness long before the world acknowledged it. It was never the world that made them successful. It was their unwavering belief that they already were. When you fully embody this understanding, when you hold it without question, you will see the same results. Your assumption of superiority is not arrogance. It is the recognition of your inherent power. It is the understanding that you are the creator of your experience. To see yourself as the best is not to diminish others, but to elevate your own consciousness to the level of absolute certainty. The moment you stop seeking external validation, the moment you stop looking to others for confirmation, you step into the role of the one who decides. And when you decide, the world must follow. There is no competition. There is no one else you need to surpass. The only battle is within yourself. The battle between the old beliefs that kept you limited and the new assumption that you are already at the top. The world may not immediately reflect your new belief, but that does not matter. You must persist. You must continue to walk as though it is already done, and in time it will be. This is not about effort, struggle, or proving yourself. It is about assumption. It is about knowing with absolute certainty that you are already the best. There is nothing to chase, there is nothing to force. The world is a mirror, and the moment you shift within, the reflection will follow. If you truly believe you are the best, you will speak differently, move differently, and carry yourself with an energy that demands recognition. This shift happens internally first, and then the external world catches up. Doubt is the only thing that can slow you down. If you waver, if you allow yourself to question whether or not you are truly the best, you create resistance. The world responds to conviction, not hesitation. If you hold firm in your belief, if you refuse to entertain any thought that contradicts it, reality must yield. It is not a question of if, it is only a matter of when. People who reach the highest levels of success are not necessarily more talented, smarter, or more skilled than others. They simply refuse to see themselves as anything less than the best. They assume it so completely that the world cannot help but reflect it back to them. They do not entertain doubt. They do not look for external signs before they believe. They believe first and the signs follow. This is the only law that governs reality. Your mind is the cause, the world is the effect. If you assume yourself to be at the top, the world must arrange itself accordingly. If you assume yourself to be second best, the world will confirm that as well. The choice is always yours. You decide who you are, you decide your worth, and the moment you choose to see yourself as the best, without hesitation or compromise, the world will fall in line. There is no need to wait. There is no need to seek permission. The moment you assume your superiority, the moment you step into the identity of the one who is already at the top, the path clears itself. Doors open. People recognize something in you even if they cannot explain it. They are drawn to your certainty, your confidence, your unshakable belief in yourself. And because you do not question it, neither do they. Reality is not something happening to you. It is something happening through you. You are the one shaping it, whether you realize it or not. If you assume yourself to be the best, the world must confirm it. There is no other possibility. The only question is whether you will hold to this assumption long enough for reality to catch up. You must embody this belief in every moment. Do not wait for recognition. Do not look for signs. Simply decide that it is already done. Move through life as though it were true, and soon you will see that it is. There is no force outside of you determining your fate. You alone hold the power. Assume it, persist in it, and watch as the world rearranges itself to match your unshakable belief. You have always held the power. The world has never been your master. It has always been your mirror. The moment you claim your greatness, the moment you decide that no one is better than you, reality will shift. There is no force outside of you that can grant or deny you anything. You are the one who declares it so. This truth is absolute, unchanging, and available to all who dare to accept it. Look at where you stand now. Everything around you is a direct reflection of your deepest assumptions about yourself. If you have lived in doubt, uncertainty, or hesitation, the world has reflected that. If you have sought approval, waited for recognition, or hoped for success, you have unknowingly placed yourself beneath those who simply assumed they were already worthy. But now you know the secret. You do not need permission. You do not need validation. You need only to assume your rightful place. Greatness is not reserved for a select few. It is not something granted by external forces. It is claimed by those who refuse to see themselves as anything less than the best. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stagnant is not talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It is belief. It is the unshakable conviction that they belong at the top, and because they believe it, the world makes it so. Doubt is the only thing that can stand in your way. The moment you question yourself, the moment you hesitate, you send a signal to the world that you are uncertain, and the world will respond in kind. But when you hold firm, when you persist in the assumption of your superiority, there is no power that can oppose you. The world must bend to your belief, for it has no choice. You do not need to fight for recognition. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. The very act of trying to prove yourself implies that you are unsure. But when you simply assume that you are the best, that no one surpasses you, the need to prove anything disappears. You walk differently, you speak differently. Your very presence commands attention, and because you believe it so fully, others will believe it too. It does not matter where you started, it does not matter what has happened before. The past is nothing but a collection of previous assumptions that you once held. But now, in this moment, you have the power to rewrite everything. The moment you decide that you are the best, that there is no one above you, your world will begin to reshape itself. People will treat you differently. Opportunities will arise where none existed before. The invisible forces that shape reality will move in your favor, all because you dared to assume your greatness. This is not a temporary mindset. It is not something you do once and then forget. It is a way of being. You must live in this state continuously, refusing to entertain any thought that contradicts it. When doubts arise, dismiss them. When the world tries to tell you otherwise, ignore it. You are not here to react to the world. You are here to create it. You have seen those who move through life effortlessly, as if everything aligns for them. It is not luck, it is not chance, it is the power of unwavering belief. They have assumed their place at the top, and the world has no choice but to comply. The only difference between them and you is the decision to assume, and now you have made that decision. You do not need to wait, you do not need to prepare, you are already ready. The only thing that must change is your assumption. You must stop seeing yourself as one among many and start seeing yourself as the one, the leader, the highest authority in your own life. The one who does not chase, does not beg, does not seek approval, because approval is irrelevant to one who knows they are already the best. The moment you step into this belief fully, your energy will shift. You will radiate certainty. You will no longer seek validation because you no longer need it. And when you no longer seek, you will find that the world rushes to confirm what you have already decided. People will respect you without understanding why. Opportunities will appear without explanation. Success will follow you naturally, effortlessly, inevitably. You must not waver. You must not entertain even a moment of self-doubt. When you walk into a room, own it. When you speak, speak as one who knows their worth. When you act, act with the confidence of one who has already won. And most importantly, never look to the world for confirmation of your greatness. Let the world look to you. The secret is simple. Reality is your creation. Assume yourself to be the best, and the world will reflect it back to you. Assume yourself to be second, and the world will confirm that as well. The choice is always yours. It always has been. Today is the moment of decision. Will you continue waiting, hesitating, hoping that one day the world will recognize your worth? Or will you declare here and now that you are the best, that no one surpasses you, that you have already won? The world does not decide your destiny, you do. And the moment you step into this truth, your life will never be the same. Everything you desire already exists within you. The world you see is but a reflection of the world you assume to be true. You do not wait for evidence before you believe first, and the evidence must follow. This is the law. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you step into the reality where it is already yours. You do not beg, you do not chase, you do not struggle, you simply know. The moment you decide within yourself that it is done, the world must rearrange itself to make it so. You are not separate from your desire. The distance between where you are and where you long to be is not measured in time or effort. It is measured in consciousness. Feel it now. Not tomorrow, not when conditions change, but now. If you were already the person who had what you seek, how would you walk? How would you speak? How would you carry yourself in this moment? Align yourself with that version of you. Become it, not in the future, but now. There is no waiting in the realm of creation. There is only being. You must embody the state fully before the world will yield to your command. The unseen is more real than the seen. What you hold in your imagination is more powerful than what your senses report. Do not look to the external world for confirmation, for it is only the shadow cast by your inner assumptions. Change within, and the outer world must conform. You have already been given dominion over your reality, but it is only when you claim it with conviction that you see its truth. Live from the end. Let go of doubt, for doubt is simply belief in what you do not want. Give your full attention to the feeling of already having, already being, already experiencing your desire. Walk as if it is done, speak as if it is done, rest as if it is done. When you do this, you are no longer trying to become, you are. And when you are, the world must reflect it back to you. The key to transforming your life lies in your ability to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Everything you experience in this world is a direct reflection of your inner state. The law is simple. What you feel is true will manifest in your reality. You do not need to wait for external confirmation before you believe. Rather, you must believe first, and the world will mirror your belief back to you. This is not about wishful thinking or empty affirmations. It is about stepping into the state of already having and allowing that assumption to harden into fact. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you must first become deeply familiar with the state you desire to enter. Close your eyes and imagine yourself already in possession of that which you seek. If your desire is wealth, feel the security, confidence, and ease that comes with financial abundance. If your desire is love, feel the warmth, the joy, and the deep connection of being cherished. The key is not merely to see it, but to feel it with such intensity that it becomes real to you in the present moment. Your subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It responds only to the dominant feeling you impress upon it. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are impressing upon your subconscious a new state of being. And once this impression is made, it must externalize itself in your world. This is the way all things come into being. You do not need to force or manipulate the external world. You simply shift your inner state and allow the outer world to catch up. Most people make the mistake of focusing on their current circumstances and reacting to what they see. They look at their bank account, their relationships, their health, and they allow these conditions to dictate their inner state. But this is living in reverse. The truth is, your current reality is only the result of past assumptions. If you wish to change your life, you must learn to feel now what you desire to experience later. The only thing that keeps you from your desire is the feeling of not having it. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled means to live in the certainty that your desire is already yours. You do not wish for it, you do not long for it, and you do not question when or how it will arrive. You know it is done. You walk with confidence, you speak with conviction, and you carry yourself as one who already possesses what they once sought. This is not pretense or delusion, it is the law of consciousness in action. Doubt is the greatest enemy of manifestation. The moment you question whether your desire will come to pass, you step out of the state of having and into the state of lack. This is why many fail. They affirm their desire with their words, but contradict it with their feelings. You cannot fool your subconscious mind. It responds only to the feeling you consistently hold. If you feel lack, you will continue to experience lack. If you feel abundance, abundance must come. This is why it is essential to make the assumption so natural that it becomes second nature. You must persist in the feeling of already having until it becomes your dominant state. It may feel unnatural at first because you are breaking free from old patterns of thinking, but with repetition it will become effortless. Just as an actor immerses themselves in a role until they embody it fully, you must embody the version of yourself who already possesses what you desire. Your imagination is the workshop of creation. When you visualize your desire, do not see it as something separate from you. Do not observe yourself from a distance as if watching a movie. Instead, step into the scene and experience it firsthand. Feel the joy, the excitement, the gratitude as though it is happening now. If you desire a new home, imagine walking through its rooms, touching the walls, feeling the comfort of your new space. If you desire success, imagine receiving congratulations, feeling the satisfaction of achievement, knowing you have arrived. The more vivid and real your assumption, the faster it will materialize. It is not necessary to constantly think about your desire throughout the day. What matters is that when you do think of it, you feel it as already real. A single moment of deep conviction is more powerful than hours of weak affirmations. If you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled before you sleep, your subconscious will work on it throughout the night. When you wake up, carry that feeling with you. Let it shape your actions, your words, and your demeanor. The world cannot help but rearrange itself to match your inner reality. There is no power outside of you that determines your fate. You are the creator of your experience. Everything you see, every circumstance you encounter, is the result of what you have accepted as true. If you wish to change your reality, change what you assume to be real. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled with unwavering faith, and the world will move to bring it into being. Your consciousness is the foundation of everything you experience. The world you see, the events that unfold, and the people you encounter are all reflections of your inner state. There is nothing outside of you that is shaping your life independent of your assumptions and beliefs. Everything that happens is a response to your dominant thoughts and feelings. When you understand this truth, you no longer feel powerless. You realize that you are the one creating, whether consciously or unconsciously, and that you have the ability to reshape your world by changing the way you think and feel. Most people believe that reality is something fixed, something external that they must react to. They look at their circumstances and assume that life is happening to them rather than through them. They believe that success, happiness, and love are determined by forces outside their control. But this belief itself is the very reason they feel stuck. The moment you accept the idea that your consciousness creates reality, you shift from being a passive observer to an active creator. You no longer wait for conditions to change before you feel different. You change how you feel first, and the conditions must follow. The world is nothing more than a mirror, reflecting back to you the assumptions you hold about yourself and about life. If you believe that you are unlucky, that money is hard to come by, that love always ends in heartbreak, or that success is only for certain people, then these beliefs will manifest as experiences that confirm them. This is not because the world is against you, but because your consciousness is constantly shaping your reality in accordance with what you assume to be true. The key to transforming your life is to change your assumptions. You must shift your inner dialogue from lack to abundance, from doubt to certainty, from fear to confidence. The moment you accept a new belief as true, reality begins to rearrange itself to reflect that belief. This is not a process that takes years. It happens the moment you truly accept a new assumption. The time it takes for it to materialize in your external world depends on the intensity of your belief and the absence of doubt. It is not enough to merely think positively or repeat affirmations without conviction. Your thoughts must be felt deeply and accepted as reality in your inner world before they can appear in your outer world. If you say, "I am wealthy," but deep down feel the fear of financial struggle, the dominant feeling will always win. The universe does not respond to empty words. It responds to the state of being you hold within. This is why many people struggle with manifestation. They affirm something they do not truly believe, and their subconscious mind rejects it. To truly change your consciousness, you must practice embodying the state of already having what you desire. If you want success, feel successful now. If you want love, feel love now. If you want health, feel the vitality and energy of perfect well-being now. Do not wait for evidence. Create the evidence from within. Your inner world is the blueprint, and the outer world is the result. Your subconscious mind is always listening, always accepting the ideas you impress upon it. It does not question whether something is true or false. It simply takes whatever you consistently believe and turns it into reality. This is why your self-concept is so important. The way you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will struggle. If you see yourself as someone who naturally attracts opportunities, those opportunities will come to you effortlessly. This is why it is essential to guard your inner world carefully, be mindful of the thoughts you entertain, the words you speak, and the emotions you dwell in. Every thought you allow to dominate your mind is a seed that will grow into an experience. If you constantly dwell in worry, you will manifest situations that justify your worry. If you live in gratitude and confidence, life will continue to give you more reasons to feel grateful and confident. Most people wait for the world to change before they change their state of mind, but the truth is that the world is always following your inner state. The moment you shift your consciousness, reality begins to shift with you. You do not need to force anything or struggle to make things happen. Your only work is to maintain the inner feeling of already being who you want to be, and the world will reflect it naturally. This is not wishful thinking or fantasy. It is the law of consciousness in action. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every success story begins with someone who dared to believe in a reality that had not yet manifested. They did not wait for proof. They lived from the state of their desire fulfilled. And the world had no choice but to conform. Your consciousness is the cause and your reality is the effect. When you truly accept this, you take back your power. You stop looking to the outside world for validation and begin shaping it from within. Every thought, every assumption, every feeling you hold is creating your future. Choose wisely and life will become a beautiful reflection of your highest vision. Your imagination is the creative force of your reality. Everything that exists in your world first began as an idea, a vision, a thought. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the technology you use, all of it was once nothing more than an image in someone's mind before it took shape in the physical world. The same law applies to your desires. If you can imagine it vividly and persistently, without contradiction, it must manifest. The world around you is not separate from your imagination. It is shaped by it. Most people do not realize the power they hold within them. They allow their imagination to be governed by fear, doubt, and past experiences. They replay old failures, relive painful moments, and worry about things that have not even happened yet. In doing so, they unknowingly create more of the same. The subconscious mind does not differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. It accepts whatever you consistently focus on and brings it to life. This is why it is so important to use your imagination deliberately, to see yourself already in possession of what you desire, and to feel it as real. To create effectively, you must move beyond passive visualization and step into the experience. Do not just see yourself having what you want. Experience it. If you desire a new home, do not merely picture it. Imagine walking through it. Feel the texture of the walls. Hear the sound of your footsteps on the floor. Smell the fresh scent of the air inside. If you desire financial abundance, do not just see money in your hands. Feel the security, the confidence, the ease that comes with wealth. The more real it feels in your imagination, the more quickly it will manifest in your external world. The secret is to persist in this imagined state until it becomes natural. Most people try visualization for a few days, then give up when they see no immediate results. They let doubt creep in and their old beliefs take over. But reality responds to what you assume to be true, not to fleeting thoughts or temporary wishes. You must remain faithful to the vision, regardless of what your current circumstances suggest. Your current reality is simply a reflection of past thoughts and beliefs. If you want to change your world, you must change what you focus on in your imagination. Every great inventor, artist, and visionary has used this principle. They did not wait for the world to change before they believed in their ideas. They believed first, imagined first, and the world adjusted to match their vision. Doubt is the greatest enemy of creation. The moment you question whether your imagination has power, you weaken its effect. This is why many people struggle. They waver between believing and doubting, creating and then undoing their creation with skepticism. If you plant a seed and then dig it up every day to check if it is growing, it will never take root. The same is true for your desires. You must trust the process, knowing that what you imagine and persist in must take form. Your imagination is not bound by time or logic. It does not operate under the same restrictions as the physical world. In imagination, you can be, do, or have anything instantly. You can rewrite the past, shape the present, and create the future. It is the most powerful tool you possess. Yet most people use it unconsciously, allowing it to be shaped by external influences instead of directing it with intention. The key is to discipline your imagination. Be mindful of the images you dwell on, the scenarios you play out in your mind, and the emotions you associate with them. Do not allow fear-based thoughts to dominate your inner world. Whenever you catch yourself imagining something unwanted, immediately replace it with a vision of what you do want. This is not about suppressing negative thoughts, but about training your mind to focus on the reality you wish to experience. Every night before you sleep, enter the state of your wish fulfilled. See yourself already living the life you desire. Feel the joy, the gratitude, the excitement, as if it is happening now. Your subconscious mind is most impressionable in the moments before sleep, and whatever you impress upon it will continue to work itself out while you rest. If you go to sleep dwelling on your problems, you will wake up to more of the same. But if you fall asleep in the assumption that your desire is already yours, your subconscious will set events in motion to bring it into reality. The world will always reflect what you accept as true. If you persist in the assumption that you already have what you desire, the physical world must conform to match it. This is not wishful thinking or fantasy. It is the fundamental law of consciousness. Everything you have ever experienced was first conceived in imagination, whether consciously or unconsciously. When you begin to use this power deliberately, you become the master of your destiny. Your imagination is limitless. There is nothing you cannot create, nothing you cannot become, nothing you cannot have. The only limitations are the ones you impose upon yourself. When you free your mind from doubt, when you fully embrace the reality of your wish fulfilled, the world will reshape itself to align with your vision. What you imagine today will become your reality tomorrow. Use this power wisely and life will unfold in ways more wonderful than you ever dreamed possible. Feeling is the secret to all manifestation. It is not enough to simply think about what you want. You must feel it as real in your body, your mind, and your emotions. The universe does not respond to empty wishes or fleeting desires. It responds to the depth of your conviction, the intensity of your belief, and the energy of your emotions. Everything you experience in life is a direct reflection of your inner state. And your emotions are the strongest signals you send out into the world. If you feel lack, you attract lack. If you feel abundance, you attract abundance. Your emotions act as the bridge between imagination and reality. They are the fuel that transforms a mere thought into a tangible experience. When you desire something, do not just think about it. Immerse yourself in the feeling of already having it. Feel the joy, the gratitude, the relief, the excitement. Live in that emotional state as if your desire has already been fulfilled. When you make this your dominant feeling, the world must reorganize itself to match your inner state. Many people misunderstand this concept and allow their emotions to be dictated by their current circumstances. They wait for external validation before they permit themselves to feel good. They think, I will be happy when I get the job, or I will feel secure when I have the money, but this is backwards. Reality does not create your feelings create reality. You must feel wealthy before money comes, feel loved before love appears, feel successful before success manifests. The law does not work any other way. The key is to generate the feeling within yourself, independent of external conditions. This requires mental discipline, for the world will often present you with evidence that contradicts your desire. If you look at your empty bank account and allow it to make you feel poor, you are reinforcing the very state you wish to escape. If you dwell on loneliness and let it consume you, you are prolonging that experience. The secret is to detach from what your senses currently report and trust in the unseen reality that is forming beneath the surface. This is not about pretending or forcing yourself to feel something you do not believe. It is about shifting your inner state through conscious awareness. If you desire love, recall a moment in your life when you felt deeply loved, even if it was years ago. If you seek financial freedom, remember a time when you felt abundant, even if it was for something small. By tapping into those emotions, you activate the energy of what you want and send out a powerful signal to the universe. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. It simply accepts whatever you impress upon it through feeling. This is why dreams can feel so vivid and real, because your subconscious processes them as actual experiences. When you repeatedly feel something as true, your subconscious begins to shape your outer world to match that inner state. One of the most effective ways to generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled is through mental rehearsal. Close your eyes and place yourself in the scene of your fulfilled desire. See it vividly in your mind, but more importantly, feel it. If you want to be successful, imagine standing in the moment of your greatest achievement. Hear the applause. Feel the pride. Sense the excitement in your body. Let it be so real that when you open your eyes, you carry that energy with you into your day. Another powerful technique is to use gratitude as a bridge to feeling. Gratitude is a shortcut to shifting your emotional state because it places you in the energy of receiving. When you feel grateful for something, you acknowledge that it already exists in your life. Start each day by giving thanks not just for what you have, but for what you desire, as if it is already yours. Thank you for my financial freedom. Thank you for my loving relationship. Thank you for my vibrant health. By doing this, you align yourself with the reality where these things already exist. It is essential to be aware of your emotional state throughout the day. Most people live on autopilot, allowing their moods to fluctuate based on external circumstances. They react to the world instead of creating it. But once you understand that your emotions are shaping your reality, you take responsibility for them. If you catch yourself feeling doubt, fear, or frustration, do not fight those feelings. Acknowledge them, and then consciously shift back into the state of your wish fulfilled. One of the greatest challenges in this practice is persistence. Many people begin with excitement, but when they do not see immediate results, they fall back into old patterns of doubt and frustration. They think, I have been feeling abundant for a week, but nothing has changed. This impatience weakens the creative process. The key is to remain unwavering in your feeling, regardless of how long it takes for the outer world to conform. The moment you let go of the need for proof and simply trust in the reality of your assumption, things begin to move in your favor. Children understand this principle naturally. They can immerse themselves in imaginary worlds so completely that they experience genuine joy, fear, or excitement from things that are not physically present. They do not need to see evidence. They believe fully in what they are experiencing in their minds. This is the state you must return to. A child who pretends to be a superhero does not question whether they are actually powerful. They simply assume the role and live in it. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled with the same conviction, you become a magnet for its realization. You do not need to know how your desire will come to pass. The how is not your concern. The feeling is your only responsibility. When you truly feel it as real, the universe orchestrates the events, people, and circumstances necessary to bring it into form. This is why miracles happen when people least expect them, because they have let go of doubt and fully embraced the emotional certainty of their desire. Trust the power of feeling. It is the most direct way to shape your reality. You are not at the mercy of the world. You are the creator of it. When you master your emotions and live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you unlock a power greater than anything you have ever known. The world must bend to the state you hold within. It is only a matter of when. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world. Every experience, every encounter, and every circumstance in your life is the direct result of your dominant thoughts and assumptions. If you wish to change your external reality, you must first change the reality within you. The world you see is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Everything you accept as true within yourself must eventually be expressed in your physical world. There is no separation between what you imagine and what you experience. The unseen and the seen are one and the same, only separated by the veil of time. Most people believe that life is something they must struggle through, something dictated by external forces beyond their control. They react to conditions, thinking that their emotions and beliefs must follow what they see. But this is the greatest illusion. The truth is that what you see in your reality is the result of what you have already accepted as true within your mind. The job you have, the relationships you experience, the financial state you find yourself in, these are all projections of your inner world, created by your assumptions, feelings, and beliefs. If you wish to see a new reality, you must first assume it within. The world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting back to you the contents of your consciousness. Just as a mirror does not create the image but simply reflects what stands before it, your reality does not create itself, it merely reflects what you have assumed is true. If you look into a mirror and frown, the reflection will frown back at you. You cannot demand that the mirror change before you smile. You must smile first, and only then will the image change. In the same way, you cannot expect your external circumstances to shift before you change your inner state. You must become the person you wish to be, now, in your mind and emotions, before the world will reflect it back to you. When you understand that the world is only a reflection, you no longer try to force external changes. You no longer struggle against conditions, people, or situations because you know that they are simply mirroring what exists within you. Instead of fighting against the reflection, you go inward and shift the assumption that created it. If you experience lack, you recognize that it is not something imposed upon you, but rather something you have unconsciously accepted as true. If you experience loneliness, you realize that it is a reflection of a state you have embodied. And when you change your state, the reflection must change. This is the true power of creation. It does not require struggle, force, or manipulation. It requires only that you assume the state of your wish fulfilled and persist in it, knowing that the world has no choice but to conform. When you internalize this truth, you step into a reality where you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You move from being a victim of life to being the creator of it. To apply this principle, you must first become deeply aware of the assumptions you hold about yourself and the world. Most people operate from unconscious beliefs, unaware that they are shaping their reality moment by moment. If you believe that success is difficult, that love is hard to find, or that money is scarce, you will see these conditions reflected in your world. These beliefs may have been handed down to you, shaped by past experiences or reinforced by society, but they are not absolute truths. They are only reflections of your inner world. And since they were created by you, they can be changed by you. Changing your assumptions requires discipline. It requires that you deliberately shift your inner conversations, your emotional reactions, and the way you see yourself. Instead of reinforcing the old story, you must tell yourself a new one. If you desire wealth, stop identifying with lack. If you seek love, stop affirming loneliness. Instead, assume the identity of the person who already has what they desire. Walk as that person, think as that person, feel as that person. The world does not delay in responding to your inner state, it only appears to because of your wavering faith. If you plant a seed in the ground and continuously dig it up to check if it is growing, you will never see results. But if you trust in the process, knowing that the seed must sprout in its appointed time, you will allow the natural unfolding to take place. The same is true with your assumptions. The moment you assume something is true, it begins to crystallize in the unseen. If you hold firm in your belief, without doubting or looking for proof, it must eventually harden into fact. Many people fall into the trap of thinking that circumstances are too real, too overwhelming to be changed. But the world is not solid in the way you think it is. Everything you see is made of energy responding to the frequency of your consciousness. The energy around you begins to reorganize itself to match. If you persist, what was once invisible must become visible. What was once only imagined must become reality. To truly master this, you must live from your assumption, not toward it. Most people live in a state of waiting. They wait for evidence before they believe. Wait for circumstances to change before they feel different. But this waiting keeps them stuck because it reinforces the very lack they wish to escape. Instead, you must embody the feeling of already being, already having, already experiencing what you desire. You do not wait for wealth to feel abundant, you feel abundant now. You do not wait for love to feel loved, you feel loved now. And as you sustain this state, the world has no choice but to reflect it. It is not enough to simply repeat affirmations or visualize for a few moments each day. The real work is in living from your new assumption every single moment. When doubts arise, you do not entertain them. When the old reality persists for a while, you do not react to it. You remain unwavering in your inner state, knowing that the outer world must catch up. This is the power of faith, not blind faith in something outside of you, but faith in the truth that you are the creator of your reality. Everything you see, touch, and experience is the result of consciousness shaping itself into form. The same energy that creates galaxies is flowing through you, responding to your every thought, belief, and feeling. You are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are it, expressing itself as you. When you fully accept this, you step into a life where nothing is out of reach, where every desire is simply waiting to be claimed, where the world bends to the truth you hold within. You are the creator of your reality. Nothing outside of you has power over your life unless you give it permission. The world is not happening to you, it is responding to you. The assumptions you hold, the beliefs you nurture, and the feelings you embody are shaping your experience moment by moment. If you desire a different life, you must first become the person who already has it within your mind. You must live from the end, knowing that the unseen is just as real as the seen. There is no force stopping you except your own doubts. The moment you decide to embody your desire, the universe rearranges itself to reflect your new state of being. But you must persist. You must refuse to be swayed by the temporary illusions of lack, delay, or opposition. The world cannot help but yield to the one who holds an unshakable assumption. So step into the reality you wish to experience. Feel it now, claim it now, live it now. There is no separation between you and your desire, only the illusion of time. But when you assume it fully, time collapses, and what once seemed distant becomes your present reality. The world is your mirror, and it will always reflect who you believe yourself to be. Choose wisely.